Right, Sean, what have we been to see?
Nobody. Director's name? Do not know how to pronounce.
Ilya Naishalov, I believe. He's a Russian director. The last film he directed, I think, maybe not the last film, but one of the most famous films is called Hardcore Henry. I haven't seen it, but I know it was shot all in first person.
POV.
But it seemed a little bit gimmicky when it came out.
Yes.
And that's what I was worried about looking at this film. Is it just based on the concept? Is it that same old trope that we've seen time and time again? I call it the Liam Neeson film.
Liam Neeson
Now,
film.
the Liam Neeson film, Sean, if you don't know, something happens to an old guy. Someone gets kidnapped, someone gets ruined, he finds out a secret, and the bad guys do him over. But what they don't know is that he has a very particular set of skills, and he goes on to get his revenge.
Now, you call it a Liam Neeson film, and rightfully so. However, I was more concerned whether this was going to be a poor man's John Wick, and you actually haven't seen the John Wick movies.
So I can't comment on that, but I do see where you're coming from, because the look of it looks very gritty, a bit like the trailers that I've seen for the John Wick films. Is Bob Odenkirk a good action star? Because looking at him, he doesn't look like a traditional action star.
So I was very familiar with him, obviously, in Breaking Bad. He does phenomenally in this role.
So good in the role. He's the thing that makes the film, and he just fits the role so well.
Yeah,
like it's a good performance.
He's the hook of this film, because and what I like about this film is that yes, he's a family man at first, and then he gradually turns into this badass. But it's not a sudden change.
Yeah,
you can see it building and building up on him. And I was worried that they would jump the gun on that. There wouldn't be enough of him being a father figure, of being a family man, and us getting used to this character. But there was just enough.
Yeah. At one point, I questioned whether or not he had a past at all. Because it doesn't just throw you with all this information about how he used to be like an SAS fighter. It's really subtly dropped, really hinted,
drip-fed.
And usually through the reactions of other characters are like really subtle things that set the tone. And actually, whilst it's a really funny film, there are like dramatic moments. You get a character that's quite like torn, and it's almost I don't know how I would describe it. Like almost a character going through a midlife crisis in a way.
I'd say so.
It's conflicted between the past he's had and the present that he's got. Yeah,
what this brought was a bit of style, a bit of flair, a bit of personality to not only to the character, the main character that Bob Odenkirk plays, but also just the characteristic of and the vibe of the film. It was fun, it was brutal, it was funny, and it was tense. Not only did Bob Odenkirk portray this believable family man, but he also portrayed this absolute badass, and at the end of the film you truly believe, and you're scared of him. You're scared of him.
And actually, this is one of those first films where I believed it. Yeah. And I don't know whether that's down to his performance or the choreography, but the fight choreography is on another level. I'm not going to ruin it, but there's a scene on a bus in this film, and
it's the first scene. It's like the first reveal.
We were actually gasping out loud. Yeah, weren't we? Like audibly gasping out loud, and you don't usually. Maybe you do it in a horror, but you don't usually do it in an action film.
And I think that's down to the pace of the film, because you wouldn't have had this massive impact on this first fight scene inside this bus
if you started off with an action scene.
It really built up, and you could see the physical toll and torment in the main character's mind of being locked, this past being locked away and just wanting to get out, and it was finally released in this first scene, and you felt every impact, every punch. It drip-fed bits of comedy throughout these scenes that made it a bit more of a fun experience.
Then you've got comedy coming in from other areas as well, the different relationships he has with other characters. Christopher Lloyd from Back to the Future is in this film.
Oh my God.
And he doesn't have a big part, but he's amazing in every scene that he's in.
Let's be honest here, this action movie doesn't really, in terms of story and plot progression, there's nothing new there. No. There's nothing new, but the way it executes it executes it in a different way to what you've seen before. You might have seen it before, but we haven't had something like this in a long time.
And like It's so serious, and there are moments where it's really, I think, thoughtful. Let's talk about negatives then, because you've mentioned a little bit where the plot's maybe a little bit generic, but it overcomes that. One thing that didn't really work for me were the actors that portrayed the rest of his family. They weren't in it for that much. His wife especially, I just didn't buy their performances. But again, it doesn't take away too much because they're not there too much. There's another supporting character who's on the phone quite a bit to him.
Yeah.
Who you don't really get enough
There's a build
material about. There's subtle hints there, isn't there, in the background about who this character is.
And there's a build-up like of something epic, but then he just arrives and it's just like, oh, he's there.
And you don't get enough there about
there's no reveal.
Enough.
There's no big reveal.
Maybe if you heard a story about that character beforehand.
One of the negatives that I had was towards the end of the film, the third act, the big finale, kind of took the form of a generic action movie. The choreography and the last gunfight was just a bit generic,
like a cowboy shootout in a way.
Wasn't it wasn't very inventive. Yeah. But throughout the whole film, it was different and inventive, and it didn't subvert expectations, but it took a different approach to the action genre, and it just didn't follow through in the final fight.
In terms of thinking about other generic things as well, I think that the villain was really generic. He did have one good scene where he was quite threatening and ominous and that. But again, it's a bit.
He had a bit of a comedy quirk to him as well, which I found funny.
Oh, what
but yeah, I can see how he is a little bit generic. There's nothing. Really
I think you should have ran with stuff like that though. Even more than they did.
Yeah, I guess so.
But
these misses that they have, they can always work on in the sequel. Yeah. And I hope there is a sequel. I would also suggest, potentially, even doing a Nobody and John Wick crossover movie. That would be pretty cool.
Hollywood, listen,
we got an idea. We got an idea.
Shall we rate this film, Sean?
I think we should, yeah. So yeah, overall, I thought it was a unique and different and fresh take on the action genre. It was unexpected. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. We recommend going to see it. Every single film so far, we recommend going to see it in the cinema. So take our advice. You won't be disappointed. So I need to rate it. I'm going to rate it 7.7.
There's one point that I have about this film that I just focus on, and that's Bob Odenkirk. I think he's the centre. I want to see him in more dramatic roles, even if they're not action films, but I'd love to see a sequel to this. Choreography and action's good, not a fresh storyline, but I enjoyed myself, and that's what the cinema's about. 7.7 from me too. It's what I was thinking before Sean stole my rating. See it in the cinema.